Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another MCOC player guide, this time featuring Spider-Man Stark Enhanced. I have many guides on the channel, so please don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button. Your support is much appreciated. Today we'll be looking at Spider-Man's pros, his cons, some gameplay, and basically what I think about the champ, and so much more. So let's get started. The first pro we're going to talk about is understanding the Poise charges. Basically, when Spider-Man makes use of his Dexterity Mastery, when he uses Dexterity to basically dex away from a basic attack like you see here, or if he's using it to evade a special attack, he has the ability to gain Poise charges. Those Poise charges are just below the health bar. You'll see a little spider symbol. You can get up to 10 Poise charges at once. So what's good about Poise charges? So what are Poise charges good for? Per every Poise that I have on me, I increase my attack. So the more Poise I have, the more attack that I do, which means more damage. Now if I happen to be Awakened, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail later, and I'm above 50%, I also gain a critical rating per Poise, so I can hit really hard. As you see here, when opponents have multiple hits on their special attacks, I can use my Dexterity Mastery and gain even more Poise charges very quickly. Now, a lot of people complain that it's hard to get to 10 charges, but the thing is, you don't always have to get to 10 charges. You know, if you're getting pushed to the wall, go in and attack and push him back, or hit him on his block and push him back. You know, Spider-Man does a lot of damage on his regular hits. If he has 7, 6, 5 Poise charges, it's usually going to do the job. So just keep that in mind that sometimes you can, kill an opponent with 3 charges, sometimes you can kill an opponent with 6 charges, sometimes you can kill an opponent with 10 charges. Just keep in mind that you don't always have to get to 10 right away. That'll make playing Spider-Man a lot easier. You're not always focusing on trying to get to 10. Just try to build up to it. So the next pro we're going to talk about is Taunts, Smack Talk, and we're going to talk about the AI. Okay, let's talk about the Taunts first. First of all, you have to have some Poise charges up. When you do 5 uninterrupted attacks, Stark converts a Poise charge into a taunt lasting 3 seconds. It will last 50% longer on villain champs. Also, if your Stark is Awakened and he's above 50% in health, the taunt will last an extra 2 seconds, which is nice. Now, what does this taunt exactly do? The taunt basically reduces the opponent's attack by 40%, and they have a 70% chance higher to activate a special attack. Now this is very useful against champs like Mordo, as you see right here, because he's very stingy on throwing his specials. He has a power gain. So basically you can get him to use his specials more frequently, which is what you want. Also on nodes that have the all or nothing, where they only do special 3 attack, Stark Spider-Man can be very useful here because he can actually basically taunt the opponent out and get them to use their specials. So it's a very nice ability, especially combined with his heavy attack, which is a power drain, which we'll talk about later. Now, one thing you should be aware of is it doesn't always work. It's still 70%, but the more attacks you can get in uninterrupted, the better chance that you have. You can see the taunt just below the power bar of Mordo. It's that little red circle. So yeah, it's a very nice ability. It's very useful. Sometimes it kind of gets in the way because you don't always want to bait out a special. But for the most part, you're bringing in Spider-Man against champs that are very stingy on throwing their specials or all or nothing. It's very useful ability. So another thing, if the opponent is under the effects of taunt, you can actually do something called Smack Talk. If Spider-Man dodges back and idles for 1 second, he can Smack Talk the opponent. You'll see his arm move here in a moment saying like, "Come and get me." This actually refreshes the taunt counter. So you can keep your taunt up so the opponent has more chance to actually use his special attack, of course if he has the power. So it's a nice little extra ability just to keep that taunt fresh. So now we'll talk about the AI online, as you see right there, or the artificial intelligence. He starts to fight with his AI online. It gives him some cool abilities. It gives him a flat 60% chance to evade special attacks, which is very useful. Also, it enhances his special 1. His special 1 can now stun 100% of the time on opponents that are stunnable, so that's a very nice bonus as well. Now what you have to be aware of is if you're hit with a heavy attack, or if you're hit by a cosmic champ, your AI will go offline for 10 full seconds. But besides that, you can keep it up pretty much the whole fight as long as you don't get hit. And it's a very nice ability, especially when you go up against champs that are difficult to evade on their special attacks. Sometimes you'll be able to just basically evade right out of it with your AI. So next we're just going to keep on talking about the evade and the heavy attack power drain. We already talked about how when your AI is online, you have a flat 60% chance to evade special attacks, which is great. But Spider-Man also has a 3% chance to evade any attack at any time. It's not a bad ability. It's more useful in defense because you might catch the opponent off guard. It's more annoying in offense because it kind of throws you off your rhythm. Now the next thing I want to talk about is his heavy attack. His heavy attack, which we're going to see coming up right here, is a 45% power drain. This is a very, very nice attack. I like to save it myself, especially on champs on all or nothing nodes or champs that are very stingy about throwing their specials like Mordo. It can really get you out of a jam, and 45% is quite a lot. The only thing you have to be aware of is there's a 30-second cooldown, so you can't just keep on doing heavy attacks over and over and over again. It's something you can do once, kind of save your life, kind of get that opponent down so you can get him into a better position to attack. And then if the fight goes on longer, you'll have it in the future 30 seconds later. So the next things we're going to talk about is the special attacks and the signature abilities of Stark Spider-Man. So let's get started on this section. So first we'll talk about the special one. Obviously the more poise charges you have, the more damage it will do. It also does a 2-second stun. It's 100% chance for that stun to work if you have your AI online. If your AI is offline, it's only a 50% chance. This is a very useful stun, and if you're on a power gain node like you see here, sometimes you can keep the opponent stunned for the whole fight. And a synergy with Miles as well can give you an extension to that stun. So it's a very nice ability. So next we'll talk about the Special 2, which is what I consider the biggest damage dealer. It has a 70% chance to shock the opponent for 6.5 seconds. Also against Robot, that shock does double damage like you see here against the drone. Obviously with more poise charges up, the more damage it's going to do. You can end a lot of fights with the Special 2. It's very, very effective. And lastly we have the Special 3. The Special 3 once again will do more damage if you have more poise charges up. It also ensnares the opponent for 18 seconds, and they suffer a 30% reduced ability accuracy, and no passive evade effects for 18 full seconds. So it's not a bad ability, and it's kind of cool to watch, but I'd really be focusing on my Special 2 for the most part. That seems to be the best out of the 3. So now we're going to talk about the Awakened ability. We touched base about it before, but we didn't talk about all the abilities. It's called the Hero's Mantra. If Stark Spider-Man is over 50% health, he gets 2 seconds longer on his taunts, which is very nice. And also each poise grants 253 critical rating, which can also be increased by your SIG rating. So a 5-star at SIG 200, you can have over 500 critical rating per poise charge. So he can do some massive damage when he's duped. Also when he's below 50%, he gets a 7% flat rate evade added to his already evade abilities. Plus he has an additional 82 block proficiency per poise, which can also be increased by the signature ability. So it's not necessary to have him awakened, but it certainly helps, and the higher the SIG, the more damage he's going to do. So he's a very good champ without the signature ability. He's an exceptional champ when he has it. So now we're just going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about, is he good unduped, which we just kind of discussed. We'll talk about his synergies. We'll talk about suicides and defense. And we'll talk about Labyrinth of Legends. First off, he is quite good unduped. You're not going to get that super huge damage you can get when he's duped, but he still hits quite hard with the poise charges. He still has some very nice abilities like his stun, and obviously his power drain, and his shock damage from his SP2. So he's a solid champ unduped. He's an exceptional champ duped. In regards to suicides, probably not the best champ for suicides just because he's not bleed or poison immune and he has low health. But if you put suicides on him, he might be a very good boss killer just because he hits so hard already. And then you add that 60% from the suicides, he could do some serious damage. But I probably wouldn't run suicides with Stark Spider-Man. Defense-wise, he's okay just because he has that random evade. He's a little tricky sometimes with his Special 2. He might get you a kill or two here and there just because he hits so hard if he happens to catch somebody off guard. Not the best defense, but not the worst. When it comes to Labyrinth of Legends, he's an excellent choice for Labyrinth of Legends for many fights. As long as you can keep your poise charges up and avoid getting hit too much because of his weak health, he does some serious big damage. Many people have done many lines in Labyrinth of Legends with Stark Spider-Man. He just has a very strong hitting power, And with this taunt ability, you can keep them doing their special 1s or their special 2s a little bit easier. And also the ability to evade some of those specials like War Machine Special 1 might be very useful as well. So he's a pretty good champ for Labyrinth of Legends. I don't think he's the best champ, but he's certainly an option for those that don't have any other options. So now we're going to take a look at the synergies. I like going to this page more than actually looking at the character in the game. It's called marvelsynergy.com. If you don't know about it, I think you should check it out because it shows all the synergies for the champ and not just the ones that were shown when the character was created. So there's all the synergy partners. And we'll go through each one. The first one is with Blade. This is a very nice synergy because Stark Spider-Man starts off with 3 Poise charges, so he's already hitting harder. Blade also gets a 45% potency for Danger Sense, which is very, very nice. Then there's one with Darkhawk, where you get a attack bonus for the team. One with Dr. Octopus, where you also get an attack bonus for the team. One with the Green Goblin, where Green Goblin gets an extra 15% pumpkin bomb damage for each Cunning and Madness charge. And Spider-Man gets a 15% more power with each critical hit. That's pretty nice. Hulkbuster. Spider-Man's AI will reboot 30% faster. Not so great because you actually have to be recovering from a hit. But Hulkbuster receives a 30% special damage bonus. So if Hulkbuster gets that buff in the future, this might be pretty good. With the regular Iron Man, same thing with the AI and the special damage. This is a very nice one with the Iron Man Infinity War. Activates the Convert Insight synergy bonus where enemies are 35% less likely to evade basic attacks. This is pretty nice because if you're using Iron Man Infinity War, they can't evade his repulsor beams anyway. So you're actually adding another 35%, so it's pretty sweet. Miss Marvel. The Stun, Shock, and Ensnare debuffs last 30% longer for Stark Spider-Man, which is nice. A 30% potency for her Fury buffs. Mysterio is a attack increase for the whole team, and Spider-Man Miles Morales is the same as Miss Marvel, where you get 30% longer stun, shock, and ensnare debuffs. And Miles gets 2 additional Spidey sense charges. And Vulture, the champion, Avengers Tryout synergy bonus where Spider-Man, Stark, and Hans get a 15% ability accuracy while his AI is active, and Vulture gains a 40% incinerate damage, which is pretty sweet. So he's got a lot of cool synergies, so I'd advise you to check them out and go to the marvelsynergy.com page and take advantage of some of them. So let's move on from here. So next we're going to quickly go through some cons. We're going to show some gameplay in Labyrinth of Legends. The first con obviously is the build up for big damage. Obviously to build these Poise charges you have to use your Dexterity Mastery and you have to evade either special attacks or basic attacks to gain your Poise charges. This can be dangerous, you know, it takes a little bit of skill. Some champs are harder to avoid than others. You can get pushed against the wall, you can get smacked in the face, and it can be kind of dangerous. So it's not for everybody. But once he gets to those Poise charges and once he gets them nice and high, he does some serious damage. So the risk is kind of worth the reward in my opinion. So we'll take a look at the next con. That happens to be no immunities and no regeneration. Stark Spider-Man is a glass cannon champ. That means he can hit very hard, but he cannot take a hit. He doesn't have great block proficiency, he has no regeneration, he has no abilities to stop things like bleed or poison or shock damage. He just is as is. Now the only good thing about him in the sense of keeping him alive is he does have that auto evade at times. His block proficiency will go up if he's below 50% and has a lot of Poise charges when awakened, but in reality you do not want this champ to get hit. So moving on to the third con, we just touched base a little bit on this. It's his weak health. Also his evades can mess you up. Like I said, he's a glass cannon champ. That means if he is struck, he's going to take a lot of damage and a lot of damage fast. Also, he has that 3% evade, which can be annoying at times because if you're trying to parry a champ or you're trying to do something in particular and that random evade happens, it might mess up your flow and then you end up getting hit anyway. I've never been a big fan of the random evade on attacking. Yes, it's cool for defense because you can catch someone off guard and kill the opponent, but for attacking it can be kind of annoying. And the last con I want to talk about, which we've already touched base, is he's not too impressive on defense. We've talked about this before. He's not too impressive mostly because of his weak health. His specials are pretty easy to evade, especially the SB1. The SB2 takes a little bit of work, but in reality he's not too threatening on defense. One thing about him is if he does get that random evade, he can get a kill or two because he does hit quite hard. But in reality, he's not the best choice for a defender, except for maybe diversity and the occasional kill. Okay, to sum up this guide and to give my final thoughts about the character, I personally love Stark Spider-Man. Mine is rank 5. I do not regret it at all. I find even the 4-star can be used on harder content because he hits so hard. He's got some great abilities. He's got the special one that does the stun 100% when the AI is active. He's got the special 2 that can do the shock damage, and that shock damage can do double damage on robots. He's got the special 3 that can ensnare opponents and shut down their evasion. What else does he have? He's got the power drain from his heavy attack. He's got the ability to evade special attacks. He's not the best defender. He's weak on health, so you have to be very careful. You have to play him almost perfectly. He hits like a truck when you get those poise charges going. He's still solid unduped. He can still do a lot of damage unduped and have all his abilities. He's better when he's duped, especially the higher the SIG, because you can really increase his critical rating. He's a very well-rounded champ. He's fun to play. Takes a little more skill than some other champs. I can understand why some people don't like him because they have to build his poise charges. But once you get used to him and how he works and how to play him, I think he'd be a great member of your team. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, dislike, and all that good stuff. I really appreciate your support, and remember, I have lots of other guides and other videos about Marvel Contest of Champions on my channel. So I appreciate the support, and take care everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
Target identified. Analysis complete. Please subscribe.